Okay, so Ramanami article. So I thought I'll put some information together. Some things about Ramayanam, Rama, which I thought might be interesting to you all. You might know some of this information. So I had a problem really putting the title because there's no really theme to this. It's sort of a hodgepodge of stuff that I came across I thought might be interesting to you. So that's why I just called it Let's Learn Something About Ramayanam and Sri Navami. Couldn't find a better title for that, but do that. Okay. Where's my keyboard? Okay. So what is Ram Navami? Ram Navami is the appearance day of Sriman Narayana in a human form as Rama on Chaitra Shukla Navami, which is the 9th day of the bright half of Chaitra month. Now, usually when we talk about avatarams, we should never say birthday because Sriman Narayana, he's never born. He is Ajaha, unborn. He always existed, he's existing now, and he will exist in the future. So the word that that they use even in the Hare Krishna movement, the appearance day is probably a better thing because that's when he appeared as Rama, right? So if we look at this Chaitra Shukla Navami, what does that mean? So if you look at the months we have, the Chaitra month in Sanskrit or Chitra in Tamil is from mid-April to mid-May. So Ram Navami comes in this month, and the Shukla Navami has to do with the phases of the moon. So the month is divided into every day is a tithi, and it's divided into that. So there are 14 tithis between Amavasya and Purnima, and then from Purnima to Amavasya, another 14 days. So this chart here shows that those days are divided into two phases. One is called Shukla Paksha, other is called Krishna Paksha. Shukla literally means white in Sanskrit, but what it indicates is the moon is getting brighter as it goes. So Shukla Paksha starts from Amavasya and it goes up to Purnima. So the moon is, for those 14 days, is getting brighter and brighter. The Krishna Paksha, now here Krishna, this is not talking about Lord Krishna, but it's Krishna means dark in Sanskrit or this thing. So this phase is when the moon is reducing in brightness. So this is from Purnima to Amavasya. So between that, there are 14 days. The first day is called Pratipada, and then Dvitiya, Tritiya, Chaturthi, Panchami, Shashti, Saptami, Ashtami, Navami, Dasami, Ekadasi, Dwadasi, Trayodasi, and Chaturdashi. So the Ram Navami here, as you can see where the star is here, it occurs on the Navami day in the Shukla Paksha phase. So Navami will always come twice in a month, right? So it comes in that Shukla and the Navami. And some of these other tithis you might be familiar, like Vinayaka Chaturthi will come on the Chaturthi tithi in one of the phases during a particular month, right? And then you have Ashtami, which is Krishna Janmashtami, will come on an Ashtami tithi. Vijayadashmi will come on a Dasami tithi, is like that. So today is Chaitra Shukla Navami. So Ramanavami is always celebrated in that month and in that tithi and within that phase. And that's why it might come on different days based if you translate it back to the English calendar. Okay. Now, before we talk about Rama and the Avataram, I thought it might be interesting to tell you about the 5 forms of Sriman Narayana. The first form is called Para. This is the form that Sriman Narayana is in Vaikuntham. He is there along with Lakshmi, Bhudevi, Neela Devi, and all the Nityasuris like Adiseshan, Garudan, etc. And then when we get moksham, our soul goes to Vaikuntham. So this form is called Para. The second form is called Vyuha. And there are 4 of this. There's Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. The Vasudeva form is the reclining form of, it's called the Ksheerasagara, where Narayana is reclining on Adisesha in the Ksheerasagara. And each of these four forms has different gunas and different activities that are associated with it. For example, Sankarshana has the guna of jnana and bala and is concerned with the destruction and preparation of shastras. So like that, Pradyumna and Aniruddha have their own other two gunas and activities. There is no difference in form between the Vasudeva form, the Ksheerasagara, lying on the Ksheerasagara form, and the Para form. The third is Vibhava, which is the avatarams. So as you know, there's the Dasha avatarams, the 10 avatarams, starting with Matsya and then Kurma avataram, all those avatarams. There are also other avatarams, there are about 24 avatarams, where Narayana comes into that person for a time being, for a purpose. So some other avatarams are like Vedavyasa, Kapila Muni. They are also considered as avatarams of Perumal. So other than the 10, there are 24 other avatarams. And if you read the Bhagavatam, it will list out all the avatarams that are there. So that's the third form, Vibhava. The fourth form is Antaryami. That is the Narayana that is inside each living being. He is inside us. There's a soul, which we call Jivatma. Along with that soul, Narayana is there also as Paramatma. And in the Vedas, it's depicted as two birds sitting on a tree. The Jivatma is one bird and the Paramatma Narayana is another bird. The Jivatma is busy doing activities and eating the fruits, and by realizing the fruits from all those activities, the Paramatma is there watching all the time. But he's not affected by those activities that the individual soul does. And he has no relation to that action or the fruits of an individual soul's action. Then the fifth form is called Archa, which is what we see in the temples and also in the Saligrama that we worship. So here in this form, he receives prayers from his devotees and blesses them. The Archa forms of the Lord have a substantial aura around them. And there are four types of Archa forms. Swayam Vekta, which is Saligramam, and also some temples like Tirupati, Srirangam, Badrinath, Jagannath Puri. The second type of form is Deva, where the Devas have installed the Archa Murti. So a lot of Hindus, we keep saying idols. We shouldn't really use the word idols. I mean, that was sort of a word that came from outside, whether it be the Muslims or even the British. The right word is Archa Murti. So this Archa Murti that are installed by Devas, those are the Deva form of Archa. So for example, Lord Krishna's Archa Murti at Guruvayur was installed by two Devas, Guru and Vayu, and that's why it's called Guru Vayu. The third subtype within Archa is where sages have installed the Archa Murti. For example, Uppaliyappan Kovil, some of you might know near Kumbakonam, is one type. And then the final type is Manusha, which is Archa Murtis that have been installed by men. So most of the temples you would find here will be that type. So these are the five types. So Rama falls in the Vibhava form as one of the avatars. Okay, what is the meaning of the word Ramayanam? It means Rama's journey. So if you look at Sanskrit, it's Rama plus Ayanam, which means way or path. So this is Rama's way or path. But most of our acharyas say it's not Rama, it's actually Sita and Rama. Sita always goes with Rama and Rama always goes with Sita. So actually they say the Sita and Rama's journey. So there's a saying, Rama, which is another name for Lakshmi, or you can say here Sita, Rama, Ramayo, Ayanam, Ramayanam. Now, this journey was a significant journey. So if you see this picture, I found this quite interesting picture that shows the journey that Rama took, starting from Ayodhya, which is the capital of the Kosala kingdom, on the banks of the Sarayu, Saryu, Kite, so on the banks of the Saryu. And then from there, it shows as he went to Chitrakoot and went to Dandaka forest and, came all the way down to Hampi. That's where they met, he met Hanuman and Sugriva, and coming all the way down to the south. And then from there to going to Lanka and then coming all the way back. So this is Ramayana, Rama's journey. And here the Sita, Sita, the birthplace of Sita right now is in Nepal right now. So, and then there are quite a few people, Velikuri Swami or even Dushyant that they will take you on a yatra going along this path. And as you go to various places, they will explain not only the Ramayana story, but then also show you around there. So that's really something very interesting on that. Okay, so Ramayana occurred in Treta Yugam. So I just thought I would talk to you a little bit about Yugams. So there are really 4 Yugams. Satya Yugam, it's also called Krita Yugam, Treta Yugam, Dwapara Yugam, and Kali Yugam. So the first Yugam was Satya Yugam, which is called the Golden Age. It went on for 1.728 million years. And in this Yugam is where the first 4 avatars took place, Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, and Narasimha. And they say this people used to live very, very long, thousands of years in this Yugam. They were very disciplined, very pure. So the way for them to reach God was Dhyana Margam, or meditation was ideally suited for that Yugam. The next Yugam was Treta Yugam, which is called the Silver Age. And in this Yugam, Vamana, Parashurama, and Srirama avatarams occurred. So Ramayana really occurred in the Treta Yugam. And for this Yugam, it is said yagams or yajnas, doing those things, was the path to reach Godhead. People were pure, they had the time, they had the discipline to do those things, to do that in that age. After Treta Yugam came Dwapara Yugam, which is called the Brass Age, which is the age where Balarama and Krishna took avataram. And as you can see, each of the duration of the Yugams are going down. We started at 1.7, now we're at almost 864,000 years. And the path in this Yugam is Archana Margam. So by doing a lot of Archanas is the way to Godhead. Now we are in Kali Yugam. So the day that Krishna left is the day that Kali Yugam started, which they say is 3102 BC. Now all the years I'm mentioning are what are called Puranic years, okay? And I'll talk a little bit later when you come to historical years, but this is as it is in the Puranas. So the Kali Yugam is the Iron Age, and I said it began in 3102 BC when Krishna left. The avataram for this age is yet to come. It's called Kalki. No, it's not the Kalki Bhagavan that is there already in Tamil Nadu. He's not the avataram, just in case there's any confusion. And they say in this age, people won't live as long as in the other Yugams. As Kali Yugam goes along, people's lifespan will get decreasing. And there is not the focus, the discipline that is in the previous Yugams. So the easiest way to go to Godhead is through Nama Sankirtanam. That is, for Kali Yugam, that is the best method, the easiest method to do. Because today, who most of us don't even know what these yajnas are or yagams are. Who has the time to do all these things, right? So that's why they say Nama Sankirtanam is the best for this Yugam. Okay, so then after Kali Yugam, again, Satya Yugam will start again, and it goes in a cycle of that. Now, these are Puranic years. Historical, there's a lot of research going on. There are a lot of presentations on YouTube where people have done it. And right now, Ramayana historically is around 7000 BC. Now, in our textbooks and all, they put it earlier because there's a little bit of bias in that and they want to show it in a certain way. But I've attended quite a few lectures by very knowledgeable people where they have sort of put Ramayana more around 7000 BC. If you're interested, you can go to YouTube and search for some of those lectures and some of the artifacts and that stuff that they did. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Valmiki Ramayanam. So this was revealed to sage Valmiki, and this is the main, so it contains 24,000 slokas that are arranged into 500 sargas or cantos, which are contained in 6 khandas or books. So Balakandam, Ayodhya Kandam, Aranya Kandam, the book of forest, Kishkinda Kandam, Sundara Kandam, and Yuddha Kandam. So these are the different chapters in these slokams. They're all written in Sanskrit, and Valmiki is the authoritative source for Ramayana. Now, there have been other interpretations of Ramayana based on Valmiki's that have come after, quite later have come. Some of the more famous one in Tamil is Kamba Ramayanam, which is around the 12th century. And in Hindi, it's Tulsidas Ramcharitmanas, which is in 16th century. Now, these were more poetic interpretations. So a lot of poetic licenses were taken, but always for authenticity, everything, you have to go back to Valmiki Ramayana, right? Not that, Kambanayam and Tulsi Ramayana are beautiful too, but the authentic original source is Valmiki. And then, of course, there have been Ramayanams in other Indian languages, in every Indian language, and also in languages like it has gone to Thailand, gone to Indonesia. The influence of Ramayana is actually quite astounding in Southeast Asia, who are all places that it has gone and it is permeated. Okay. This I just thought I'd put together. Most of you might know it. So who are the players in Ramayanam? Well, of course, Sriman Narayana, he took Avataram, 7th Avataram as Rama. Lakshmi in the form of Bhudevi came as Sita. Adiseshan, who was with Sriman Narayana Vaikuntham, he took Avataram as Lakshmana. Because Adiseshan is always serving Perumal in Vaikuntham. He came in Ramayanam to serve Rama. Now in Krishna Avataram, of course, Adiseshan came as Balarama. And in Kali Yugam, Adiseshan Avataram is supposed to be Sri Ramanuja. Ramanuja, the actual word Anujaha means brother. Rama's Anujaha means younger brother. Rama's younger brother is Ramanuja, which is a name for Lakshmana, but it was given to our Acharya because he was an incarnation of Adiseshan. Also, the Sudarshana Chakram came and took Avataram as Bharata. Panchajanya Shankar came as Shatrughna. Vayu, of course, was Hanuman. And Surya came as Sugriva. Now, Garuda didn't actually come in there, though they say Jatayu, but Jatayu was the brother. But Garuda did when Rama and Lakshmana were fighting Indrajit. Indrajit put a Nagastra on them. And at that time, Garuda came to help rescue Rama and Lakshmana from that Nagastra. Okay, what is the purpose of Sri Rama Avataram? Well, to protect the sages and the good people from evil forces. Of course, Ravana was he had gotten a boon from Shiva, and he was creating a lot of problems for the Devas and the Rishis. So to protect these people, this avataram is taken. And as Krishna said, Paritranaya sadhunam, for the protection of the good people, Vinashaya cha dushkritam, for the destruction of the evil, Dharma samsthapanarthaya, for the establishment of Dharma, Sambhavami yuge yuge, I'm born from yugam to yugam. So that is one reason. The second is really to show how a human being should live and act. Rama was the ultimate, the gunas that he had are the ultimate that all of us should try to follow and to do, live like that. Really, Sri Rama demonstrated what Krishna talked about later in the Gita. So Krishna says in the Gita, Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo. So he's saying in happiness and distress, in loss or gain, in victory or loss, same kritva, you should be equal. And Rama was the ideal example of that, who demonstrated that. And I'll talk about that a little later, like how that he had demonstrated that. So it's very interesting. All our acharyas say that Rama came first and showed, so that when Krishna came and told Arjuna, you have to do this, you have to do this, Arjuna couldn't say, oh, like he had an example. Rama was already there who had demonstrated all that Krishna was talking about in the Gita. And this is a one line. If you want to know anything about Ramayana, just one line summary, the bottom line, as they say here in the West, as Velakotin Swami said this, and I liked it, is you must live like Rama and not like Ravana, right? Ravana had a lot of good attributes too. He was very, he had studied a lot. He had very, very good qualities, had prowess, but he had two problems, two big ones: ego and lust. Ego, he thought that he could rule the world. Nobody can come up to him. Nobody can stop him. That combined with the lust, he decided, to kidnap another king's wife. So that ego and that lust landed him in a lot of troubles, though he had some good qualities too. So that's why we should say we should always be like Rama, who's full of good gunas only, and not like Ravana. The third more important thing, which is a very thing in Sri Vaishnavism, is Ramayana really demonstrates the Sharanagati Shastram, or the concept and the meaning of Sharanagati is displayed and demonstrated in Ramayana. I'll talk a little bit about that later. Okay, so what are some of Rama's gunas that we should follow? Adherence to Dharma, righteousness. So Rama is called Maryada Purushottama. His commitment to Putra Dharma that made him smilingly leave for the forest for 14 years at the bidding of his father. He did not budge from the path of Dharma even when his own preceptor, parents, and brothers and all his subjects tried to dissuade him. He had to give up his wife when the Raja Dharma said that it was so. And so he upheld the supremacy of Dharma in every one of his relationships: ideal son, brother, husband, and disciple. There's a slokam in Sanskrit, it says, one who walks on the path of righteousness, even the monkeys will listen and follow him. But one who walks on the wrong path, even his own relatives will abandon him. And isn't that true of Rama and Ravana and what happened to them? Always speaks the truth, never jealous. Anusuyakaha. He could have been very jealous of Bharata. I mean, the kingdom was rightfully his. And it was just, one day it was just given over to Bharata, right? He could have been so jealous of him, but he wasn't. Full of peace. Prashantatma. Okay, I got 10 minutes. Good, I better talk fast. He's not perturbed at all. So when he had to give up his kingdom and he had to go to the forest, he was never perturbed. Kamban says, when he went into Kaikeyi's chambers and when he came out of her chambers, Kamban says, when he went in, he thought he was going to be king. His face was like a tamare. When he came out, he didn't have any kingdom. He had to go to the forest for 14 years. But his face was now like a alarunda tamare. It was even more blossoming because Rama was so happy to abide by the words of his father and to do the Dharma. So that is what Prashantatma, full of peace, no matter what happens. He speaks sweetly, appreciates unique and noble traits in others. There are many places in Valmiki Ramayanam where he praises Kaikeyi, the one who was the instigator of getting him banished to the forest. He even praises Ravana for those good attributes that he had. Won't speak harshly, even when harshly spoken to. Very much appreciative of someone's small help. Did he not show that with the squirrels when they came to help him to build the bridge? Likes talking to elders in age and knowledge. See, he had the guidance and he listened to his rishis, Vashishta and Vishwamitra, followed their advice, and he never made any mistakes. It was so nice. When you look at Dasharatha, he listened to his wife, and look where he ended up, what happened. So I guess the theme of the story is we shouldn't listen to our wife. I'm just kidding. Maybe listen to a wife like Sita and not like Kaikeyi. Lack of ego and affected by the suffering of others and will help them. Dina Anukampi. So these are all the gunas that we should try to follow in our life as Rama has set that example for us. Prabhu Ramachandra does not discriminate in giving shelter. Yes, he gave Ahalya, turned her from a stone into that. The boatman, Guhan, Jatayu, the old woman, the tribal woman Shabari, from whom she bit into the palam, and then he gave it to her, and he had, though she was a tribal woman and he was a Kshatriya king. The squirrels, of course, Vibhishana, to whom he finally gave Sharanagati. Okay, so I said I'll talk a little bit about Sharanagati. This is a very deep topic, actually, so I'll just touch on it there. There are almost 7 incidences of Sharanagati in Ramayanam, and there's one in each kandam. So Sharanagatan is the one who is performing the surrender. Sharanyan is the one to whom you are surrendering. So here it's written in here, like you see in different kandams, who all surrendered to who. So the Devas started all this by coming to Sriman Narayana and saying, please come give us protection from the cruelty of Ravana. So then Narayana took the Rama avataram and he came. And then Lakshmana to Sri Rama and Sita, where they're seeking their protection to serve them in the forest. And Acharyas say that the Sharanagati is very equivalent to the Dvaya mantram that we have, where we surrendered both to Perumal and Tayar in that mantram. And then, of course, there are different things, as you can see, Sugriva. The most important one is the last, one of the most important is the last one, Vibhishana Sharanagati. Some people say in our Sri Sampradayam that the whole essence of Rama Avataram, most significant incident is Vibhishana Sharanagati. So everything that came was just a follow-up to this Vibhishana Sharanagati, because the Sharanagati has certain qualifications. Like the person who is surrendering has to have certain qualifications. The person to whom you're surrendering has to have certain qualification. And the act has to have certain aspects to it. And all that was displayed in when Vibhishana came and he surrendered to Rama in Vibhishana Sharanagati. I won't go too much into the topic because it's a very detailed topic. I still remember about 7-8 years back, Velukuri Swami had come here, and it was a wonderful lecture that he had given for, I think it was 2 days, on this whole topic of Vibhishana Sharanagati. But this is very, very important episode in Ramayanam for that, and that for the Sharanagati and the surrender. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about. I know it's sort of a hodgepodge of things, but hopefully you picked up a couple of things here and there that might, brought some knowledge to you. And thank you for listening. And